I'm going to share with you the 5 dietary rules I follow to stay in peak performance as a runner. Hi, I'm Dan, and welcome to Strides and Summits. I take you on running adventures, treadmill sceneries, guided workouts, and share running tips. So if you're into running on the road or on the trails, consider subscribing if you haven't already. Almost 5 years ago, I put out a video where I showed you what I ate in a typical day as a university cross-country athlete. That was a long time ago. Back then, I had more hair and less video editing skills, but to my complete surprise, that video exploded in popularity. Honestly, I just wish I could do it again. Anyways, I'm glad that a lot of people found it useful and inspiring. And if you haven't seen it already, I'm going to put a link up there and in the description, so go and check it out if you haven't already. Now, my diet and my training have gone through a lot of changes in the last 5 years. I tried vegetarianism, I tried veganism, I went back and forth a couple times between different diets, and honestly, I couldn't make vegetarian or veganism work well for me in my training. I'm not going to get into details of my dietary history in this video. I might do another video if you guys are interested. If you really are interested, I did recently write an article that goes pretty in depth into my nutritional story, and I'm going to put a link in the description below to that article. Despite all these dietary changes, I've refined and reinforced 5 simple and sustainable rules that keep me progressing near peak as a runner. Rule number 1, I seek out high quality food in its simplest form. So when I go grocery shopping, most of my spending is for produce that doesn't even have an ingredient list or a barcode. I try and reduce the amount of processed foods that I purchase, and those which I do purchase, I read the labels on. At one point, I had this rule where I wouldn't let anything in the house if it had more than 3 ingredients. I'm not that extreme anymore, but I try and follow this general principle where I try and keep things as simple as possible when it comes to my food. I also put an emphasis on local and in-season produce as much as possible. And if I can, I try and get things directly from the farm or the farmer. In fact, I put a much stronger emphasis on produce being local and seasoned than I do on some organic label. So I encourage you to do a little research on this topic. Find out what's local in your area. Find out what grows. You might be surprised what's grown in your area actually, and you'd probably be surprised with just how reasonable it costs. I find the quality and the freshness of local ingredients to far outweigh the price premium that I might pay for them. And if local produce isn't readily available to you, then at the very least, get produce that's in season. Don't be buying Brussels sprouts in April or asparagus in October. It's just going to be expensive and disappointing. Rule number 2, I seek out variety. So the easiest way to get a balanced diet is simply to seek out variety in different forms. It might be color and texture, nutrients, its cultural origin, its flavor. Honestly, your grocery basket should just be a bountiful, vibrant arrangement of food. You should be seeking to make other customers jealous of your cart. Not only does variety keep eating interesting, but it also ensures that you're getting lots of different nutrients on a regular basis. Rule number 3, I'm conscious of added sugars. As we all know, sugar has made its way into pretty much every processed food that there is out there. And by seeking out simple food, high quality food, straight away, I'm able to reduce the amount of sugar that I consume. Now, note that I said I'm conscious of sugar. I'm not trying to eliminate it, but I just want to be aware of when I'm having it. I have a sweet tooth, and honestly, I think having a bit of sugar plays strongly into my happiness in this modern world that we live in. But I also understand that there's a lot of health negatives to it. So by reading labels and by honestly doing a lot of my own cooking and making my own treats, I understand what sugar I am consuming. That brings me into rule number 4, which is I cook as much as possible. The easiest way to ensure that I'm getting high quality, simple ingredients, I'm getting a good variety, and I'm reducing the sugar is by doing my own cooking. That way I can control the ingredients and the added sugar and the salt levels, all of that myself. Honestly, I think cooking is an essential step in athlete nutrition. as someone who has done a lot of traveling, I've learned time and time again that doing my own cooking is the dominant factor on whether I'm going to eat healthy or not. Personally, I find cooking to be relaxing, I enjoy the process, and I enjoy the feeling of accomplishment I get from making a good meal. But if you're not already cooking, I understand that it can seem intimidating. Just keep in mind though, you're not being expected to invent the next food craze. Remember that recipes exist and are widely available, and cooking is really just a simple exercise of following directions. And if that's a bit too much, then there's a lot of meal kit companies these days that make it easy to get into cooking. They select the ingredients, they do some of the prep, they lay out the instructions, they mail the kit to you. All you really need to do is dedicate 15-20 minutes into getting dinner on the table. And I think you'll find that as your experience and hopefully your enjoyment for cooking builds, you can get more creative and try out different recipes. Rule number 5, I dig into my cravings. Now, I know this sounds counter to every bit of diet advice that you might have heard, but hear me out. Cravings often get this negative connotation. People always talk about cravings like they're always for something that's fatty or salty or sugary or all the above. And sure, sometimes I crave a donut or chips, but often I'm craving a salad or peanut butter or black beans or a piece of meat. In my personal experience, when everything's dialed in right, that is, I'm eating high quality food, I'm getting variety, I'm reducing sugars, cravings are my body's way of letting me know what it needs, what I'm missing from my diet, what I haven't fed myself recently. And when I do crave sugary, fatty foods, that's often after an intense workout or a long run, probably when I'm down on energy and sugar. Seems like a rational time to crave that sort of thing, huh? So there you have it. The 5 simple dietary rules that I follow to stay in peak shape. Get high quality, simple foods, seek out variety, be conscious of added sugars, cook as much as possible, and dig into cravings. So what kind of tips do you have or rules do you follow? Let us know in the comments below. I hope you found this information useful, and if you did or just enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and until next time, keep putting one foot in front of the other.